Managing Asia. I'm Christine Tan. This is Ayala land, where the main street is named after the prominent family, the heart of an empire that has thrived here in the Philippines for more than 180 years. Today we have an exclusive interview with CEO Jaime Augusto Zobel de Ayala. In the center of Makati district sits the oldest conglomerate on the land, a business founded by this prominent family 183 years ago. Today, Ayala Corp is headed by its 8th generation, Jaime Augusto Zobel de Ayala and his brother Fernando.
We're a great believer in reinventing the corporation. I think being a conglomerate in a multi-business setting has also been useful because we have sometimes exited businesses and built other ones. And I think if you look at the history of companies with a long history, chances are high that many of them have had this ability to reinvent themselves.
Since its founding in the mid-19th century, the business has seen big changes, from a family-run partnership to becoming a corporation in the 1970s. It has expanded into property, banking, telecoms, infrastructure, and utilities, always evolving to ever-changing and often turbulent political and economic landscape.
My father was a strong delegator. He believed in bringing in talent and empowering them. I think my brother Fernando and I have followed pretty much the same principle. Very quickly on, although we grew up in the ranks and became managers in separate businesses, my brother in the real estate side and myself in the food processing side, which we had at one time. Eventually, as we took over responsibility, we moved ourselves to board level engagement.
Your father's still involved in the company today? Does he still want to get involved? Does he still want to know what's going on within the company?
Well, he likes to stay informed. He mentioned when he passed the reins on to my brother and I, he had a funny quote, and it was true. He said, look, if there's bad news or bad things, just solve it. If there's good news, by all means tell me and get me involved. He stays engaged. His office just a couple of doors away from ours. We see each other a lot, but these days he's more engaged in family-related issues, making sure that our family structure is stable and that can provide the right long-term, I guess, leadership for the company. On the business decision side, he's delegated a lot to my brother and I.
Riding on the country's economic boom, Ayala Corp has grown into a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. Now it's taking another leap into social infrastructure. Recently, you've announced a transformation where the group is now entering into emerging businesses like healthcare, education, and energy. How exactly do you sniff out these new opportunities? How do you decide which sectors to diversify into?
Well, it's part art and part science, I'll be frank. It's a good dose of both. We are believers in looking at industry structures, not just independent companies. So we believe in industry analysis, understanding the dynamics of an industry, how many players there are, the rules and regulations that govern it, how competition takes place, external forces, the use of technology. And we've become quite good, I like to think, at analyzing that ecosystem. And there are many cases that basically we like to spot opportunities for disruption. So our entry into telecommunications in the early 90s, there was a period of disruption. There was just basically one company in the Philippines. So industry structure was clear. It was basically encouraging of another entrant. And number two, the technology was shifting to mobile and the digital space. So we said, disruption, changes, let's invest now. And the same thing happened with the water utility business, real estate, banking in its own time. And I think that's the key to longevity. If we can keep doing that, and if Ayala gets good at reinventing itself on a regular basis, then I think that's part of the secret of long-term success.
Healthcare and education is particularly interesting because it's so different from your core businesses of banking, real estate, and telecommunications. Does it require a different mindset, a different approach when it comes to investing and scaling up these so-called social infrastructure businesses?
Well, very much so. The old models of how healthcare gets delivered and the components that go into the healthcare space and education are being transformed by technology, by pricing, and by shifting industry structures. I think there's a good opportunity here for innovation in the way one caters to the customer needs at different price points and the use of technology. Both education and healthcare have been fairly rigid spaces, and I think that there's a lot that can be contributed in those spaces. So we're entering slowly. We have have other friends in that space. We're trying to be collaborative in the way we enter. And we've been a little bit lucky in the healthcare space. An opportunity came our way from an old Ayala executive who had started on retirement a series of generic chains. We managed to enter that space, and we now have 650 outlets. In the education space, we've been pioneering a little bit with some new models. It's exciting and has a very strong developmental effect on the country.
It's still early stages, but so far, what's the response like?
I think very positive. We're happy with the model. On the education space, we entered a series of primary and secondary schools at affordable rates, but with standards, I think, above the public school system. We started there. We bought into a university in Naga. But the basic philosophy that I think is different to what's taken place in the past is we're looking at this education to employment model and making sure that the education that our schools participate in are relevant to the employment needs of tomorrow.
You're looking to fill a gap.
A massive gap. On the average, I think if you look at the number of Filipinos who enter the high school system, a very small percentage go into college. And of that college group, I think only 19% finally graduate. In other words, the filtering mechanism through the educational system to employment is really very small. What we're trying to do, starting with the high school level and then also the college level, the ones that we're engaged in, is to take that engagement and that link between education to employment, make it stronger, more relevant, and more in keeping with the times, and make sure that the higher percentage of the students coming out of our system find employability. I think if we can achieve that, we're really creating a very interesting new model that contributes to the country.
How soon before healthcare and education starts to impact your bottom line?
Well, these things take time. We're never in a rush. We have a long-term view of things sometimes.
How long is long-term?
Well, it depends on what opportunities come up. In the healthcare space, we had a nice opportunity came up. But if you go to another industry that we started just 5 years ago, energy, we started standing start, but 5 years later, we've amassed, I guess we committed about $800 million, and we've built up about 1,000 megawatts of power capacity, attributable power capacity that we've been able to contribute to the country. That moved fast because we were able to scale up. I think healthcare and education, you're going to be a little bit slower. It takes time to build up schools. You just don't go out and buy existing systems. They're not always available. So they'll have their own movement, but I figure between 5 and 10 years, these will be significant contributors to the group.
Let's talk more about your energy businesses, because your power unit is starting to contribute significantly to Ayala's bottom line. Is AC Energy going to be a big contributor to Ayala's portfolio in 5 years? Will AC Energy be the first among your business units to get listed?
Yeah, no, very, very much so. I think we like the thought of an Ayala that contributes new businesses that are unlisted, and then eventually we take it public and invite the institutional investor community to join us. It's a mixture of different types of energy, but we're moving now more strongly into the renewable space. Price points have come to the point where I think that they can become cost effective. We're a little bit late to the solar game, but the next couple of years will see us move fairly aggressively in that space. But we've entered the geothermal space, even winning bids in Indonesia. We have some wind projects, and of course we've got some traditional thermal projects as well. It's an exciting space. A country that's growing needs energy capacity, and being able to participate in this industry, which needs scale, capacity to finance, and a sense of partnership in getting deals done, with the kind of balance sheet that Ayala now has, these things are quite available to us, and it's been an exciting, I guess, new industry that we've been able to.
Could listing happen sometime soon?
Not yet. I think it's an area, it's growing well, but I think we'd like to build it up, and we have the financing capabilities, so we're just financing it internally for the moment, but maybe over the next 5 years, who knows?
You're building up assets in renewable energy, in thermal, in wind, and solar power. Where do you see the future of renewable energy, and how big a player do you want to be in this space?
Well, we'd like to be a big player. We believe as we enter the next 5 to 10 years, solar will really start hitting parity with traditional thermal coal projects. And at a cost structure that makes sense, then it makes it a wonderful new opportunity for many of us. I think storage of that solar energy will become lower priced, will become larger in capacity, and between those two things, I think there's a potentially very interesting opportunity for us to bulk up on.
Just out of curiosity, how much do you think energy could contribute to Ayala's portfolio?
Well, we were just looking at the numbers the other day. These are just plans, but maybe if we double the amount of investment, moving it up from $800 million to about 1.6 billion, and maybe take up our capacity to maybe 2,000 megawatts by the year 2020, maybe doubling everything. I think it could be a substantial contributor.
What is substantial?
Well, 3 billion pesos, 4 billion pesos to our bottom line. We're currently a 20 billion peso net income company. That becomes sizable in a very short period of time.
Let's talk about your infrastructure business, because it's interesting. The Duterte administration has put out its first public-private partnership project, which involves the modernization and upgrading of 5 regional airports.
Right.
Are you interested?
Well, on that one, we decided not to bid, and we decided not to participate for a very specific reason. We are interested in participating in any airport privatization projects, but we're quite interested in the main airport, which is NAIA. So we wanted to reserve, I guess, our capital for that opportunity if and when it comes. So anything in the central Luzon area, Clark, or NAIA, we would like. We actually have partners already lined up for that, and very serious ones. So we decided not to distract ourselves with some of the bids. Not that they're bad. I think they're a good opportunity for others. But we decided to just focus on that.
What about the light rail system side? Is there anything there that you'd be interested in?
Well, we've actually participated together with the Metro Pacific Group. We went in on LRT1, and we've been rehabilitating it. In fact, in a fairly short period of time, I was just looking at the results yesterday, we've managed to take up capacity by 20% already in a period of less than a year. I think that's been useful to the public. We're renovating the stations. We just inaugurated one the other day, cleaner, brighter. And so I think private sector engagement in that space is useful. We've reached an agreement recently to build a common station together with the blessing of the Department of Transportation and Communication up in the north. So I think if we can create an integrated rail system among the many partners involved, not just ourselves, Metro Pacific's there, the San Miguel Group is there, and there are other people who own land in the areas. If we can create a seamless set of mass transport systems where it's easy for people to move in, it's pleasant to ride in, pleasant to get off in, and integrated in a holistic way, then I think we're contributing, I guess, significantly to the movement, I guess, of people in the city. And that, of course, also is not only good for the country, but it's also good for the ecosystem of getting people to move from one area to the other.
For a long time, you stayed away from these government-related projects because of corruption. The situation has improved under President Aquino. Do you think the Duterte administration is making further progress in this space?
Well, I think to give credit to the Duterte administration, they've basically kept very similar frameworks to the Aquino administration with respect to the PPP structure. PPP under President Aquino blossomed. There was a lot of private capital that entered the public space, and partnerships with the government began to take place. I think that's still pretty much in place. I think the Duterte administration has run 7 PPP projects since they came on. So I'm delighted with that. They've actually taken it up to a new level under the Duterte administration. Only solicited projects, in other words, projects formally proposed by the government were allowed under President Aquino. President Duterte's economic team are allowing what they call unsolicited proposals. In other words, if you have a good idea for infrastructure, you can propose it to the National Economic... Have you proposed
a good idea for infrastructure?
We do have one that's on the block right now. It's a road project. I can't say much more than that, but I think it's great because basically it's encouraging an entrepreneurial spirit from the private sector. And as long as the National Economic Development Authority, which reports directly to the President, finds it a meaningful project and it fulfills, I guess, the framework of whatever bidding structure takes place, then it's contributing capital to the infrastructure needs of this country. I think there are a number of players who've decided to participate in this unsolicited game, and I think it's great because it's putting private capital behind projects that a private sector group, would like to fund. And so I think it's going to be exciting over the next couple of years.
Would you go so far as to say that corruption is now finally under control in the Philippines?
Corruption is a big issue. I think elements of it are always around, and I think our own president, Duterte, has said that he's fighting it as hard as possible. But I think the rules and regulations of the economic team are clear, they're transparent, and we've been very happy with what Secretary Dominguez, Secretary Pernia, the NEDA, and Secretary Bendiocno and the budget are trying to do to build consistency, transparency, and predictability, I guess, to the economic climate. So We've been very supportive. The results at the end of the year for the economy have been great. And we were just having a conversation just a couple of days ago that as we enter this new year, really the results of the economy continue to be very strong. And as they say, there's wind behind the sails right now.
Stay with us. More with Jaime Augusto Zobel de Ayala, Chairman and CEO of Ayala Corporation in just a moment.
I'm a great believer in the globalization story.
So are you saying what President Trump is doing is not sustainable? Managing Asia will be right back. Ayala, well known for its banking, real estate and telecommunications, has thrived here in the Philippines for 8 generations. The country grew 6.8% last year. Yeah. Where do you see growth in this country, given all the uncertainties and policy shifts coming from the U.S.?
Well, I think the policy shifts coming from the U.S. Could have an effect. I think I'm a great believer in the globalization story. I believe that the world has evolved and spread out both its services and manufacturings in ways that can bring costs down. I think the world as a whole has profited from it in the best sense of the word. I think income structures around the world have risen because of the globalization movement. So I think those forces to encourage productivity and bring costs down are here to stay. You can't fight them. So you may have a country that has a slightly different policy at a certain point in time, and that's fair, but I don't think that those are sustainable policies.
So are you saying what President Trump is doing is not sustainable?
Well, I'm a believer in globalization. I think it's hard to fight it, and I think over time they'll have to be careful with strategies like that. I think it'll result in costs going up, and I think there's a reason why the world is evolved in this way.
Nevertheless, President Trump is trying to shake up trade policies. He's pulled out of TPP. How do you think this is going to impact trade here in a region which Philippines is a big part of?
Well, you had 2 competing trade arrangements taking place. You had TPP, which was strongly supported by the U.S., and then you had RCEP, which China was encouraging. TPP probably is not going to, grow in its current structure. Probably will without the U.S. engagement, and I think President Trump has been quite clear he doesn't want it to continue, will stall. But RCEP is alive, and that's promoted by China. Its standards are a little bit looser. It does already engage all ASEAN countries, and I think China has been a strong proponent of globalization and wanting it to continue, wanting global trade to continue. We have very strong relationships with China at this point in time. President Duterte has made a point of building up. So I think we'll latch ourselves onto the RCEP umbrella, and I think the One Belt, One Road policy. The Philippines possibly may be more integrated into that now, and you've got an ASEAN and a China moving along a strong globalization push. I think life will be just fine. We have some important relationships with the United States. A lot of our business processing outsourcing business on the service side is very U.S.-centric. We do have strong remittances from the U.S. as well. We hope those won't be affected substantially, but we have an economy that's alive and can certainly enter this global trading sphere, I think, within this new structure of RCEP in an interesting way. So I'm not overly concerned.
Ayala is the oldest, but one of the largest conglomerates here in the Philippines. You have a pretty good sense of the pulse of the country. Do you think the economic reform agenda under President Duterte is still on track?
Well, it's an interesting point. We do feel it on the ground, as you say. We have businesses that touch so many aspects of the Philippine economy. Frankly, as we enter January and February this year, we were just looking at our numbers yesterday, the consumer demand pulse remains strong. Interest rates are still at very manageable levels, most of it risk-free rates at 4 to 5%, housing rates at still very manageable levels. The economy continues to grow. As we enter the first part of this year, I think our results will be strong, and the economy continues to thrive. We hit 6.8% last year. I'd be surprised if the numbers are not similar this year for the country as a whole.
So but is he doing enough to get infrastructure going in this country?
Well, I think so. I think the agenda's been very clear. They've set the mandate, and that's the first important step. They've said they want 7%, I guess, of GMB to be infrastructure related. They're, I think, taken up the budgets by 30 or 40% into that space. PPPs are beginning to come out, and there's a strong encouragement. I was just at our board meeting of Ayala Land the other day. We're committing, 88 billion pesos in capital to continued growth story on the Ayala Land part. If we're just a proxy for what other companies are doing, and I haven't seen any changes, then then I think there's going to
But
be a
you're
lot of capital
optimistic.
entered.
You're
Very
optimistic.
much so, very much so. And with the new administration, you're always a little cautious. But as we enter the start of this new year, it's been, what, 8 months? We're basically all hands on deck and pushing hard.
Don't go away. Up next.
We like to think that we work as a team. We share ideas regularly. We can criticize each other.
You criticize each other?
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Do you disagree a lot?
Well, we use humor a lot.
Managing Asia, we'll be right back. You know, not many family businesses that I know of, and I've interviewed a lot of them, survive for so many generations. Do you constantly feel the pressure to maintain the family legacy and the vision?
Well, not so much, actually, because things are
Do you
generally...
think about it?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, the whole concept of stewardship and building on a tradition that's been around for many years is something that's obviously in mind. It doesn't weigh heavily, though, because the company, I like to think, has good bones, is well structured, has a strong governance structure, and has some great people. And so what it is it's less the pressure, it's more, you know, the enjoyment, I guess, on building and contributing that takes place. We have a team structure. While we're a corporation, it's actually kind of a feeling of a partnership among the different CEOs and Fernando and myself. We like to think that we work as a team. We share ideas regularly. We can criticize each other.
You criticize each other?
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Do you disagree a lot?
Well, we use humor a lot. I'm a great believer that I like to attract individuals to our management team that have a sense of humor, who can laugh at themselves, don't take themselves too seriously. Obviously, that have high standards and professional qualities. But there's a lot of humor in our meetings. We're good at it, and I think it's healthy. We can say things to each other using humor that would be perhaps a little bit harder if humor was not there. So there's a culture, I like to think, of openness. So it's a nice dynamic. It's a great group to work with. And of course, very bright, very driven people. You don't have to push them too much. They just push themselves. So picking the right people, having the right team, having the right value structure, and always this focus on the long term has been a big help to us.
You're the chairman and the CEO. Your brother is the COO and the president.
Yeah.
How exactly do you carry out decision-making within the company?
Well, although we have those titles, we actually basically run the company together. We're really co-CEOs. It's just that you can't have that structure. One person has to carry certain titles. So we run it together. We divided the industries between ourselves. So my brother is chairman of some of the companies like, you know, Ayala Land and Ayala Health, Ayala Infrastructure. I chair some of the other companies like the Bank of the Philippine Islands, Globe Telecom. So we divide it up, but usually we're vice chair to each other.
So you counter-check each other, basically?
Well, not really, actually. It's more support the one who takes the lead. It's more so that somebody calls the shots and it doesn't get muddled with too much decision-making. But we're there to support each other always. It allows decisions to move quickly, and we work with our own boards in each of those different businesses. And at Ayala Corp, we work pretty much as a team. Our offices are right across each other. We hold meetings regularly together, and when one's traveling, the other one just makes the decisions and moves on.
It sounds like you really like working with your brother.
I know, yeah. It's been a long time already, and it's worked out very well.
Does he ever get on your nerves? Do you ever get on his nerves? Do you disagree?
Well, we disagree sometimes. We tend to disagree privately. When we disagree, we tend to do it a little bit more privately. But we have, I think, a very strong, healthy respect for each other. He's got many insights in some areas. I like to think I've got insights in others, and we just found a commonality of spirit in getting things done.
And finally, Ayala turned 183 years this year. Yeah. It's been through occupation, world wars, dictatorships, Asian financial crisis, global financial crisis. What are you doing to make sure the company continues to thrive and survive for many more generations to come?
A stable financial structure within the company, balancing, I guess, the risk-reward equation is always important. Although these days we feel bullish, and so we're pushing the edge of the envelope a little bit to deploy capital more aggressively than in the past. Number two, a spirit of reinvention. We started up an innovation group in the company. We're always looking for disruptive trends and where innovation can make a difference.
Is there a ninth generation of Ayalas waiting to take over?
Well, we will see. We've got 3 young family members working in the group right now. I have a nephew. He worked for a little while with our payment system and now is working with our corporate finance group. I have a son working at Globe and a daughter working at Ayala Land. They're committed. They enjoy working. The 3 of them get on well, so at least that's one batch. There are 24 young members in the next generation. We'll see if others join us.
Jaime, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
And that was Jaime Augusto Zobel de Ayala, Chairman and CEO of Ayala Corporation, based here in Manila, Philippines. Hope you've enjoyed the program. Join us again next week for more leadership insights on managing Asia. I'm Christine Tan. Thanks for watching.